Here we want to determine if x plus 1 is a factor of this polynomial 2x to the 4th plus x to the 3rd minus x minus 2. Okay, so remember, if I know that something is a factor, think when I'm solving, I'd have all my factors written out. Where do my solutions come from? They're wherever my factors equal 0. So saying that x plus 1 is a factor would be the same as saying that x equals negative 1. So what would I have to put in there to make it equal to 0? Is a 0. So you know these and vice versa. If you know this is a 0, then you know that's a factor. So those are interchangeable. So you have two choices here, and we'll actually do them both just to see. So one thing you can do is just say, well, what is p of negative 1? If it turns out to be 0, then you know this is 0, which tells you this is a factor. If it's not, then you can say, no, it's not a factor. So one option, if we put negative 1 in here, negative 1 to the 4th will be positive 1. Negative 1 to the 3rd will still be negative 1, right? Because a negative amount, or an odd amount of negatives, minus negative 1, minus 2. So this says 2 plus negative 1 plus 1 minus 2. And so negative 1 and 1 cancel, 2 and 2. So it looks like I get 0 when I plug in negative 1. If I know negative 1 is 0, then I automatically know this is the factor that goes along with it. So I can say, yes, it is a factor. All right, what's another way I could test out that same idea? Is I could do synthetic division, and picture when I do synthetic division, I put the opposite number in the little box up here. Why do I do the opposite number? Because that's the 0 that goes along with this factor. And if I write down just the coefficients of my original, 2x to the 4th, 1x to the 3rd, be careful there's no x squareds. So if you have a term missing, you have to put the 0. So 4th, 3rd, x squared, x number. And then this is add, multiply. So 2 plus nothing, 2 times negative 1, then add again, and then multiply again, and then add, and then 1 times negative 1, multiply again, and then add, multiply by negative 1 again, and so I get a remainder of 0. What does it tell me if that's a remainder of 0? That when I plug in this number, I would get 0 out of this, like we saw we just did, and also that this is a factor of that. So you have two choices. You can either plug the number in directly, or you can do synthetic division. It's interchangeable to say whether or not. So now you can say, yes, this is a factor. And I think they ask you to write down what p of negative 1 is then. So p of negative 1 is 0, which you could get from this, or from just plugging it in.